Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are now on to episode 20 of season 6. This one is Three of a Kind. Brian, tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this kind of acts really as a sequel to the previous kind of lone gunman centric episode, which is that called the Unusual Suspects, I think. It was called Unusual Suspects. So if you remember in that one, we had this woman, Suzanne Medeski, who worked for the government, kind of coming up with this this drug that could make people be easily influenced. And in that, it was set kind of like in the late 80s, like 89, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
It showed us how the lone gunmen became the lone gunmen, and it also gave us our first meeting between them and Mulder, as well as an appearance by X at the end as well. So this, yeah, kind of a sequel to that. But where,
Yeah.
go on. You know what I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Where does it sit? 217 episodes. Where do you think IMDb X-Files fans put this?
I think the fans are going to be torn on this one. I think anything to do with the lone gunman, they're going to be happy and interested. But this is completely devoid of Mulder. And I think that is going to be a real sticking point for a lot of people as well. So I think this is going to be 91.
Ooh, not too far off. 98. 98. So, yeah. Okay. I'm not so sure it's the lack of Mulder so much as other things, but because we've got Scully in there, and I think Scully more than makes up for a lack of Mulder, but she interacts with the lone gunman in a different way to what Mulder does. So, yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Okay, so we start off with a voiceover from Byers. John Fitzgerald Byers has a dream, and he's got everything, and then loses it all. Part of that dream of everything that he had is Suzanne Medeski. He comes home to 2 kids, goes out the back to a nice garden, and there stands Suzanne, who he seems to be married to. And then all of a sudden it's taken away, and he has one ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. That's all I could think when I saw that. He stood there with that ring. I was like, man, it's got a Lord of the Rings vibe to it. But yeah, in the baking Las Vegas heat. But
yeah,
there you go. That's the intro.
Yeah, it's, when you look at the start of this, it's definitely an intro. It has a precursor to this episode. It's got characters we're going to meet, and I've got to say, I'm not like, it's not put me off, but I'm not really drawn in either.
No.
It's got that, and I'll tell you what it is, and I don't think I'm ever going to overcome this hurdle. It has this monosyllabic intro voiceover that just keeps giving me flashbacks to the field where I died. And that is, there's so much PTSD from that episode that whenever I get one of those kind of solemn voiceover intros, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as that, because we've not got the awful poetry that you can't make head and tail of. But for me, I think what it boils down to is that I don't want to see really any of the lone gunmen in a serious kind of straight down the line. I'm not that bothered about getting into who they are as human beings on a really deep level. And I know Byers has always been the more serious of the 3, but even that seriousness, there's humor in that when it's coupled next to the other 2 geeks. So I'm not that interested in a buyers centric kind of storyline in that sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't grab me as let's go. it's like okay, all right, buyers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
I'm
wanna
much the same.
Yeah.
I'm
I just
not, after this ends, I'm not enthused. I'm not going like, yeah, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, see, even if they went to the poker game as the intro,
Yeah.
I think that would have been like a more fun introduction.
That'd be way better.
Yeah.
Way better. So, okay. Yeah, I think if you're doing the Lone Gunmen, if you're going to come with an intro on a Lone Gunmen episode, it needs to end on a laugh. It needs to end on what have they gotten themselves into?
Yeah.
And then that's like, let's find out.
Yeah, like if this was the opening and his wife turned out to be Langley, and then like the kids all had to face a frohickey, great. Like, I'd be in.
Yeah. So we go past the credits to Las Vegas, DEF CON 99, and that's DEF CON as in convention, defense convention.
Yeah.
99. So we have we have buyers playing Texas Hold'em poker with a bunch of other geeky self-defense contractor types. He's clearly trying to get information out of them. He's not being even remotely subtle about it. He's the one person in the room who looks like he shouldn't be there, quite frankly. And he just keeps on. So what do you think about this new such and such? Oh, and have you worked on that? And it's like, dude, could you be any more suspicious? It's like, and then we get Mr. Funston, as he's calling himself. Turns out poker is not his game. So Byers, going under the name of Mr. Funston, he loses the game of poker. You've got Langley in one ear trying to give him info because he's got this other guy now questioning him. So this guy's clearly onto him. So he starts like, so where do you work? And what was the thing on those planes? What was the problem with that? And he's like, come on, Langley. So,
yeah.
And and then he's like, did you fix the delamination issue? And it's like, so he fumbles it because there was no delamination issue. It's not even a thing. And yeah, he basically Fro Hickey, who's kind of like posing as a waiter around the side of him. He gets copped as well, and the guy's just like, throw these two out. They don't belong here. Get them gone. So.
Which is typical lone gunmen. It's like they are capable to an extent, they are knowledgeable to an extent, but put them in a real world situation and they just can't deal with it.
No.
Like, best intentions, they can't read the room, they can't read the people, and they're instantly found out.
Yeah, they're playing with the big boys now.
Yeah.
So we go to a hotel room, and the three of them bitch and complain, mostly about losing $3,000, and they wonder who the guy that busted them was. Then Timmy and Jimmy knock on and basically spend the next 2 minutes proving that they are a bunch of losers. Yeah,
but it's great. Like, this is what the episode needs more of. These people interacting.
Yeah. So they're basically trying to prove who's. It's dick swinging, basically. They're still trying to prove who's the mightiest of them all, who's the dungeon master, and none of them are, because they're all a bunch of flipping incompetent buffoons. But so they decide to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet and face and free boobage, as one of them puts it. To which Langley is instantly like, "Oh, okay." Just don't even question it. It's just like, free boobage, I'm there. So Byers and Fro Hickey stay behind, which I'm really surprised that Fro Hickey stays behind. To be honest, at the mention of boobage, I think he'd be first in line. But we get what is actually quite a tender moment, because Frohickey shows himself to be a bit more like in tune emotionally with what's going on. He's reading the room, so to speak, in a way that Langley, I think, is just incapable of doing. But he counsels Byers and says he's still looking for Suzanne Medeski. So they've been going to these conferences apparently every year, and Frohickey's finally calling him out on it and saying, "You're looking for Suzanne, aren't you? That's why we're here, basically." So, and then, in a moment of absolute 100% convenience, what's the chances? I wrote that in my notes in capital letters with 3 exclamation marks. What's the chances? The very next scene, after just talking about the fact that, and I feel like this is the first time Byers has opened up about the fact that he's there looking for Suzanne Medeski. And the very next scene, when Byers and Frohickey are at the slot machine, Byers sees Suzanne walking through the casino.
I think this was meant to be. This was written.
Yeah,
in the script.
Written by a bunch of writers in the script. Yeah,
because these places are huge, and they're designed to disorientate and distract.
Yeah. It just smacks of convenience. Like we had that talk, and now we're going to get straight to it. It's just like, what's the chances? But there's a few moments like that in this episode. To be honest, there's so many convenient timings in this episode that it starts to feel contrived in the extreme, which is kind of my biggest issue with it. So Mulder calls Scully at 2 a.m. in the morning, asking her to get to Vegas at once. He needs her help. Turns out it's the lone gunman using a voice modifier to...
Yeah, but it's great, isn't it? Like,
Frohickey's there going, "She's gonna kick our ass."
Yeah.
She's gonna kick our ass. Mulder was too high profile, which is why they called Scully. Because obviously, if they're at a convention that's full of government types, full of Department of Defense contractors and whatnot, and Mulder just rocks up, it's like, batten down the hatches, guys. Spooky Mulder's here. So they go with Scully instead. So Byers goes to get some ice. Then he see this another like slight kind of. So he just happens to see that guy that was at the poker game, and he follows him, and just happens to see that he goes to Medeski's room. It's like, okay, cool. It just feels like a lot of stuff is happening because the writers need it to. It doesn't really feel particularly organic. It feels written. Whatever, Frohickey and Langley find out who Pokerman is. Grant Ellis from the Department of Defense. Advanced Weapons Division, same department that Suzanne used to work for. Byers says she must have been brainwashed. The idea being that she was working on these drugs that brainwash people. She was then taken, presumably so that they can continue her research, and now they've used that research to brainwash her. So just info dump, yeah. Okay, Frohickey heads to Suzanne's room dressed in maintenance overalls, but backs off when a cleaner gets to the door first. And I love his hiding place and his technique.
Plain sight.
Yeah, plain sight. Just like he's obviously marching towards that door, and as soon as the cleaner comes in, he's like, "Hi." He even nods his head to her, like, "Hello," and then just backs off, and then stays leaning against the wall. It's like, dude, you're like the worst undercover operative ever. So Byers can't get into the main conference room for CIA types because the security guy's like, you ain't CIA or Department of Defense or any of that bunch. You're just some dude in a suit. You ain't coming in. But Jimmy says he can get in. It's like, okay, well, we've seen your expertise so far, Jimmy.
Yep.
Are you telling the truth? Do you think you can actually get in?
It's again, this is one of those episodes where I struggle a lot of the story. I find myself deeply disinterested in certain aspects of it, but then there'll be moments where like a character turns up and has this interaction, and I think it's like the best thing in the planet. Because I think it's because I'm so starved of anything else that when this happens, it feels great. And whenever Jimmy turns up, it was like, oh, can't wait to see this character interact with the lone gunman through many episodes to come. It's such a welcome addition to see this character.
Well, we've seen Jimmy before, so Jimmy is another carryover from Unusual Suspects. So
and it's going to be great to see him continue into the future because he's such an endearing character.
Of course, yeah. He'll go into the Lone Gunman spin-off series for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think one of the problems is there's so many characters in this, and like there's a lot of plot, and they're having to get that plot out with a lot of dialogue, and it just because it's not that interesting as the way they've gone about it. Like I think there's a story there that could be interesting if done in the right way. But it just feels like a lot of the time it's Basil exposition or just wandering into things. Like this scene here with Frohickey when he stops because of the cleaner. It's like, do we really need that? No. It's like, we know what he's doing. Just get in there.
When I'm writing my notes, like you see him walking towards the room, and I'm writing down like, Frohickey breaks into Suzanne's room, and I'm like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah,
we went to a different scene. Yeah, and then it's like you instantly jump back like a good while later, and it just feels like they rush certain aspects and then they draw out other aspects that mean kind of nothing.
Yeah,
and I think you're kind of right about the whole Byers story as well. Like I don't care, and Susan, I don't care either. Suzanne, I don't, like I'm not interested.
Yeah,
is this right?
So Jimmy goes through an air vent, then whips out his camera. He spots Timmy, who pulls him out with two guys' help. I don't know if you recognise Timmy, but I know him. Yeah, I know him mostly from Star Trek Enterprise. I think it was on Enterprise. But he's actually a decent actor. Whenever I've seen him turn up in things, he's pretty good, pretty solid. So he says they have. So yeah, he sees Timmy, but he makes a noise in the vent, which kind of makes Timmy look up, and then he and two thugs kind of pull Jimmy out of the vent, and then say they've got big plans for him, or they had big plans for him, and then they inject him in the neck with something. So. Scully arrives, greeted by Byers and Langley. Security pass by. See, again, another convenience. It's like you said, casinos, big places, man. Big places. Lots of stuff happens. And, like, this security person is just running across the hallway and just happens to pass by these three as she gives a crucial piece of information about Jimmy. Like, oh, we got someone who's had an accident. His name's Jimmy such and such. And then, they kind of like, what's the chances? What's the chances that they would have been there at that moment for her to do it? Like, one of these things, you can get away with one of these, suspension of disbelief and all that, if something like this happens once in an episode. But when it's like people just happen to be in the right place at the right time all the time, then that becomes lazy writing. It becomes like you need something to happen, so you've just made it happen in the most
Maybe
easy
that's
and
what the
obvious way
title
possible.
refers to. Yeah. But
So-
Jimmy's caught the bus, hasn't he?
Yeah. So Jimmy has committed suicide, apparently, thrown himself under a bus. Byers and Langley are kind of like, they're talking about it and being all mysterious and stuff. And Scully's like, somebody want to tell me what the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah.
But nobody does, and she's just left kind of standing there confused. But Fro Hickey breaks into Suzanne's room finally.
Eventually, yeah.
He goes to hide a camera where there already is one. He pulls a vent off, and he's about to stick a camera in there, and oops, there's already a camera there. He hides when Suzanne returns. There's a knock at the door, and it's Byers. So Suzanne and Byers have a little chat. She tells him everything has gone good for her since her abduction, and that Grant is her fiance. So,
yeah, don't care.
No, I'm not. I don't really care, because I just like Suzanne Medeski was a one and done for me. She was a character who's going to come in, she'd be part of this story, and that's it. Like bringing her back as like they really want to make something out of this relationship between her and Byers. It was never a relationship that I wanted anything more of than what we got in Unusual Suspects. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on here anyway. You know, when Fro Hickey finds that camera, it's kind of obvious as to where it's going to lead, I think. But whatever.
Yeah.
So Byers leaves, and Suzanne goes to the bathroom just as Fro Hickey makes his escape.
How?
Yeah. Literally, I was just gonna say, how the hell did that tubby little man get up into that vent? Like, I'm presuming he had a little bit of some step ladders, but even so, just like,
Well,
that's,
no, because we don't see him taking the step ladders in, and he definitely doesn't bring them back out.
no, yeah, true.
And then I'm thinking the sharp bends in the air ducts. How could you get ladders around there? Yeah.
Just I saw him. I saw his legs disappear up that hall. I'm like,
Nope.
no.
Unless somebody's dragging him up there.
Yeah. Langley, maybe, but Fro Hickey?
No.
I don't think so. So Scully is doing an autopsy, and like, see this moment I do like. Langley's there, like, yeah. Just, it's like Scully's like, you sure you want to be here for this, Langley? And he's like, yeah. No, it's good, it's fine. He's doing this. Let's do it. Let's get on with it. So she starts doing the autopsy and doing the Y incision, and then he's like, and then just like has to go out the room and throw up.
What I loved about this sequence is the fact that she's doing an autopsy on a man that committed suicide in front of a bus and a large group of witnesses. like there's no, and Mulder's not there to go like, you're doing this. She's just
She's just taking it upon herself to go, all right.
Yeah,
Which kind of makes me think that all the protesting she does over autopsies that Mulder gives her, it's just her. She's kicking up a fuss about nothing. I think she actually likes doing them. I think Mulder knows she likes doing them. So in his mind, he's throwing her a bone every time he sends her one. But yeah, literally no reason.
Even there, like, why is he there? He's not a medical professional. He's just going to get told the results when she's finished.
Yeah. It makes no sense. It's a bit. It's stupid. So while Langley is throwing up, Scully finds the needle mark in Jimmy's neck. Then Timmy, like some kind of supervillain, pops up behind her and injects her too. She falls to the floor. Langley hears it and he comes out to find Scully seemingly drunk. She's on the floor. She's kind of looks like she's fallen over, and when she starts talking, yeah, she's talking like a drunken woman.
Yeah,
which is amusing.
It's amusing, but surely alarm bells have got to be ringing. Because this woman is never like this, and within the moment, like a matter of seconds, she's changed completely.
Yeah, yeah.
And Langley's just like, she called me cute.
Yeah. Again, as Langley not being able to read the room, but the lone gunmen check the footage they took from Suzanne's. Then Suzanne lets herself in with the key card that Frohickey left at hers, because he's not so bright. Yeah. Frohickey and Langley make themselves scarce, and Suzanne fills Byers in on Grant. So, yeah, this guy... this guy was part of the program, apparently. Like she'd been tortured and was in like Black Ops, and, you know, like off the map and all that kind of stuff. And then he kind of came in and pulled her out, and like she didn't trust him at first, but then over time realized that he was trying to sabotage the project from inside, and they fell in love and blah blah blah. Yeah. I don't care, and partially the reason why I don't care is that I can see exactly where it's heading. It's so obvious as to where the story's going to go for me. And that's not just because I've seen it before, but so Frohickey and Langley play the slots. Timmy invites Langley for a game of Dungeons and Dragons in honor of Jimmy. I like how Frohickey doesn't get an invite there.
Nope.
It's very telling. Frohickey finds Scully getting hit on by a bunch of guys, including Michael McKean is back. Yes. The thing is, what I love about it so much is that, like, you could check it out and it just wouldn't matter. Like, he's shown up for a cameo that is there for the sake of cameo. This is like a Deadpool level cameo. Deadpool and Wolverine level cameo, where there's things in there where it's just not integral to the story. But if you're a fan of the show, you're going to go, yes, awesome. And he would be there because this is a conference for people who are in that area of work, who are in the Department of Defense and things like that. So it makes sense that he's there, and it's just a nice little nod, nice little wink, and it's really cool that Michael McKean was so good to just come back for that tiny little moment. But and it also repays the slap on the ass that he gave Scully way back in Dreamland, because she gives him one as she walks off. Except he enjoys it. She didn't, but he enjoys it. He thinks he's in with a chance on this one. But yeah, great stuff.
So, I mean, you can infer that the relationship with his wife's went back to the old status quo there, can't you?
Assuming he's still with her, yeah. But, okay. So Frohickey takes Scully away, stands up to all the guys. There is a nice little moment in here where somebody whispers something to Scully, and she's like, "No, that's not nice. You don't say." So it's like she comes to Frohickey's defense, even though all her barriers are down, her, she's in the most suggestive state possible. So if somebody said, "Hey, he's a little tubby nonsense," whatever he said, that she's in a position there because all the barriers are down to say what she thinks, which is can't stand the little, but she doesn't. She defends him in that moment. So it's a nice little touch that they just threw in there. So
it's also nice for Hickey to kind of see that she's not herself and again, like,
Yeah.
get her out of that situation.
Yeah, definitely. So Langley walks into a trap, so goes to his D&D game, and
He goes to a
Timmy,
dungeon. Yeah.
yeah. Suzanne sees the camera footage that starts to get upset, says they're on to us. Then Scully enters, and Suzanne finds the injection mark on her. Says the only two people who had the files on how to make the drug were her and Grant.
Dun, dun,
Shock,
dun.
horror.
Shock, yeah.
I didn't see that coming. It's like, as soon as I saw that camera in the room, it's pretty obvious who put it there, because it wouldn't be like, I thought it was either Suzanne trying to get something on Grant, but then the moment she told Byers about Grant and how he's such a love and that, then I instantly knew, well, all right, well, she didn't put the camera there then, so it must have been Grant. So he's clearly in on whatever it is, like, pretty obvious. But yeah, nice little moment with Scully being all drunk on the bed and calling everyone cutie, and the facial expressions. She's listening to this conversation play out between these guys, and she's like pulling all these. Yeah, it's good. It gives Gillian Anderson something a bit bit different to do to what she normally does. So Suzanne gives Scully the antidote, which knocks her out, while they question what their plan might be, as in they keep referring to them and they and the government people. So they question what their plan might be, and Langley scratches behind his ear, and we see the dot. Obviously, he's been injected, and then after that, see this again. This is contrivance, and things happening because they need to. It's just stupid. Makes no sense. So Timmy has injected Langley, and then let him go back to the hotel room to have a nice little chat, only to come back to Timmy, and then Timmy gives him his orders, tells him what he wants him to do. And it's like, well, okay, if they hadn't have allowed Langley to do that, then they wouldn't be able to have the whole twist with, oh yeah, we checked Langley over and made sure that he got the antidote. But let's be real, once Timmy injected Langley, I'm pretty sure he would have told him exactly what it was he was going to be doing by that point. So it's contrivance, convenience, it's bad writing. Langley goes to the conference and shoots Suzanne. Scully goes in to check the body, tells security to detain Grant, and then Byers and Frohickey intercept the 911 call. Grant is taken to the hotel room to find Suzanne alive. She asks him why he did it, to which his response is, life. I get my life back. so, okay, cool. Timmy enters and shoots Grant. So there you go. There's his life that he got back.
It's gone.
It's gone. Yes. There's a lesson in there somewhere. What's the quote? Never mind. Doesn't matter. Lone gunmen are deleting Suzanne's records, and then there is a knock at the door. Timmy leads Suzanne in. Byers makes a move but gets pistol whipped for his trouble, and as Timmy insults the rest of them, Byers injects him in the ankle with the serum. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So A news report says that Timmy confessed to the murder. Presumably that's the murder of Grant, that he shot dead. So Scully calls Mulder, and Mulder is like, Scully, I have no earthly idea what you're talking about. And then she's like, I am going to kick their ass.
Yep.
And then we get one final scene in which Byers and Suzanne say goodbye to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good riddance.
I got a feeling she comes back for another episode, you know?
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
It's really, this is a tough episode for me, Brian, because it's got three characters that I really enjoy. I think everything with Scully is pretty much hilarious and fun.
Yeah.
But everything else is so tedious and deeply uninteresting, and I'm not invested. I don't care. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that I just have zero interest in it. You know, this story was told and I was happy with that, and it feels like it's trying to capitalize on the impact of that episode, but it almost detracts from it because of how it plays out. And the lone gunmen are great together, but this one quite often pulls them apart.
Yeah.
And they're not as interesting or as fun when they're separated.
No.
So it's a real tough episode. I think I'm going to be super generous with this and give it a 3.5. I think.
That is super generous considering what I said. Yeah,
I'm going for a 3. It's good to be a 3. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. Everything you just said, but it's like when you look at a good Lone Gunman episode, i.e. Unusual Suspects, every scene is filled with like some interplay that's funny, that takes a dig at who they are as individuals and as a team. So much of the dialogue in this one is spent kind of giving us a piece of exposition to move us on to the next scene, that it kind of sucks the fun out of it. So the majority of the fun elements come from Scully. So when Scully's there doing her thing, it's kind of inconsequential in the most part to the episode, but it's fun. It's, you know, it makes me want to be with Scully more. And this is a Lone Gunman episode, so that's, you know, they've failed in that regard. Like, it's not a bad episode. It's not terrible. It's just, for me, it's just way too many conveniences. And as a result of that, the whole thing just feels contrived at every turn. It's quite predictable as to where it's going. There are fun elements in it. You know, I like the interplay between Timmy and the Lone Gunmen and their constant dick swinging like things. So, you know, and seeing Michael McKean pop up again was just a golden moment. So, and the story itself isn't a bad story. It's just not executed all that well. So I give it a 3, and I think I'm being a bit generous there. I think I think the good stuff that is in this kind of elevates it a bit more than perhaps it should.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I could watch it again. You know, like if I was doing a run through, I wouldn't skip it. I'd be like, it's not my favourite, but I'll watch it because I remember there's that bit, and that bit. Go on, why not? But it's like, okay, cool. 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I think when you look at, say, last week's episode, The Unnatural, it was so easy. Like everything just felt easy and it just flowed. And this feels like it's working way too hard to try and achieve the same effect, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't feel like it's just a group of guys just being easy and free flowing. It just, Anyway, let's talk about next week's episode, Field Trip. Tell me a little bit about that one, Brian.
I remember it, but I feel like I can't remember if the information that I would give you about it would be a spoiler.
Right, okay.
So I don't want to say anything in case it's a spoiler, but my recollections of it are that it's not an episode I'm overly high on.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some stuff in there that's maybe a bit heavy-handed. I think it's if I was gonna say what kind of episode does it kind of fit into, you got your monster of the weeks, you got your conspiracy. I'd say this one fits more in line with like your Darkness Falls kind of episodes, that kind of thing, like environmental type things. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, making it interesting. Oh, well, they'll join us next week when we discuss Field Trip and find out what kind of episode it really is. As always, if you don't mind giving us a review on YouTube or podcast service that you watch us on, that would be fantastic. And we'll see you next week for Field Trip.